Right, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Members of Parliament, I stand before you on the authority of His Excellency, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to present the mid-year fiscal policy review of the budget statement and economic policy of the Government of Ghana for 2022 financial year. Today's presentation is in fulfillment of Section 28 of the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, and Regulation 24 of the Public Financial Management Regulations, LI 2378. Mr. Speaker, this statement is an abridged version of the mid-year fiscal policy review of the budget statement and economic policy of the Government of Ghana for the 2022 financial year. I respectfully request that the entire mid-year fiscal policy review of the 2022 budget be captured in the Hansard. Mr. Speaker, on 17th November 2021, I presented the government's program to build a sustainable entrepreneurial nation anchored on fiscal consolidation and job creation in the 2022 budget, the Ajinkwa budget. Our macroeconomic targets were designed to get us back to a path of debt sustainability and increased growth. These targets, Mr. Speaker, were underpinned by an aggressive program to mobilize 100.5 billion Ghana cedis in revenues and grants, with estimated total expenditure of 137.5 billion Ghana cedis. We aim to achieve an overall budget deficit of 7.4% for the year 2022. This was against the backdrop that economic growth had recovered from 0.5% in 2020 to 5.4% in 2021, and the fiscal deficit had declined from 14.7% in 2020 to 11.4% in 2021. While the prospects for 2022 were encouraging, our plans, like many other countries in the world, went awry. Mr. Speaker, the impasse in Parliament and subsequent developments after the presentation of the budget in November 2021, both global and domestic front, have created enormous challenges for our economy. The deferment of the passage of our proposed revenue measures undermined the credibility of our budget, leading to heightened investor concerns, credit rating downgrades, and closed access to the international capital markets. These happenings, Mr. Speaker, have led to severe pressures on the cedi, which caused the currency to depreciate significantly. Additionally, in February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine, a situation Mr. Speaker, additionally, in February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine, a situation that worsened the already weakened global supply chains, exacerbated by high financing conditions, the surge in food, fertilizer, financing, and building materials and fuel prices that manifested in soaring inflation domestically. These have had a debilitating toll on the costs and standard of living of our people. Mr. Speaker, food prices are rising, fuel and transport fares are up, the cost of borrowing for businesses and households has increased, the cedi has depreciated, and the economic outlook has darkened significantly. Mr. Speaker, this state of affairs is for me to report to you. It is hard to see our people lament about the prices of basic commodities. These are difficult times for government and indeed for finance. It is agonizing to hear our food producers complain about the cost of hauling foodstuffs from markets to market centers. This is not how we envision the economy. Time is not what this is not hard for. Recent challenges have overtaken us. is to work through these challenges, overcome them, and it's exactly what keeps the president at night. Let me take this opportunity to discuss the issue of our return to the IMF. Yes, I know this government assured the nation of a Ghana aid and our plans and programs for economic transformation. Our plans and programs for economic transformation have been designed to achieve just that. And indeed, I did say that Ghana would not embark on an IMF program. We did not just say it, we also took measures towards the attainment of that objective, including the passage of the Fiscal Responsibility Act and of irreversibility measures, also launching the Ghana Cares Ofori-Atta program for economic revitalization and transformation. Unfortunately, unprecedented global developments, Mr. Speaker, over the past 2 years, especially in these last 6 months, have really and truly disrupted our efforts. Governments across the world have had to change course to tackle the current crisis. Governments that less than a year ago were busily talking about energy transition and green and cleaner fuels have gone back to firing their coal plants. Governments that are known for low taxes are now raising taxes to tackle growing deficits. These are not ordinary times, not for Ghana, not for Africa, and certainly not for the whole world. Right, Honorable Speaker, let us all acknowledge that the situation we are experiencing now is different. The global context we find ourselves in is the first of its magnitude in the Fourth Republic, and even before that. It is therefore disappointing when people want to pretend that these developments are purely domestic. It is trite knowledge, Mr. Speaker, that global developments, including the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine invasion, have really undermined and disrupted most economies. Governments across the globe are facing strikes and demonstrations as workers see their standards of living plummeting. As workers see their standards of living plummeting, with prices of goods and services jumping to heights not seen in over 2 generations. The International Monetary Fund staff team visited Accra from July 30 to assess the current economic situation and discuss the broad lines of our government's enhanced domestic program that could be supported by the fund. The mission, Mr. Speaker, the statement by the team lead correctly captured where we are and why we are where we are. He said, Ghana is facing, and I quote, Ghana is facing a challenging economic and social situation amid an increasingly global environment. The fiscal and debt situation has severely worsened following the COVID-19 pandemic. At the same time, investors' concerns have triggered credit rating downgrades, capital outflows, loss of external market access, and rising domestic borrowing costs. In addition, the global economic shock caused by the war in Ukraine is hitting Ghana at a time when the country is still recovering. At a time when the country is still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic shock and with limited room for maneuver. These adverse developments have contributed to slow economic growth, accumulation of unpaid bills, a large exchange rate depreciation, and a surge in inflation. Unquote, Mr. Speaker, from the fund. Mr. Speaker, let me be quick to add that we are not all in our resolve to turn this country around. Ours is a history of turning things around when the country is in crisis. When the MPP government took over the reins of government in 2017, we inherited a challenged economy under an IMF program, which we successfully turned around and exited the program in 27 months. Mr. Speaker, fact. If the economy was not on track, we would not have been given the all clear. That was why by April 2019, satisfied with the stability that we had brought to the economy and the policies we were implementing to sustain growth, the fund gave us the all clear to exit the program. Ghana's growth rate had moved from 3.7% in 2016, the lowest since 1992, to average 7% from 2017 to 2029. We had cut the rate of inflation down by 33% over the same period to 7.9%. By the end of 2019, Mr. Speaker, average lending rates had dropped from the 30s to 23.6 and still dropped. Our trade balance was up, Mr. Speaker, to 2.3 billion. The cedi remained relatively stable. Indeed, the amount of our total revenues had dropped from 2018's spike of 73% to 58.9% by December 2019. We were certainly not out of the woods, Mr. Speaker, especially as revenues remain very low and we have been left with billions in arrears to pay and more bills to pay from numerous contracts that the previous government had signed. Mr. Speaker, we were certainly not out of the woods yet, especially as revenues remained very low, and we had been left with billions in arrears to pay, and more bills to pay from numerous contracts that the previous government had signed, where we had to pay for electricity that we did not need. Yet, we still found money to fund our own ambitious promises to Ghanaians. We still found the money to bring back or invest more in vital social programs that had been abandoned by the previous government. But, Mr. Speaker, we also knew the economy was still vulnerable to shocks. That was why we set out to introduce transformational policies that in the long term will put Ghana beyond aid. Key amongst them are the emphasis in education and vocational training, add value to our economy through industrialization, investing heavily in roads and railways, and rationalizing the power sector. Indeed, Ghana was touted globally as a success story. Investors were lined up to buy bonds. Tourism had taken off with over 1 million visitors touring Ghana in 2019 during the year of return. Then came the outbreak of the pandemic, described in June 2020 by MF as a crisis like never before. Crisis like never before. The Akufo-Addo government stood up to its responsibilities to the Ghanaian people. I, the finance minister, who was widely described as tight-fisted, even by his own cabinet colleagues, had no choice but to do what the entire world was doing, which was to breach our own self-imposed deficit ceiling in order to save lives and protect livelihoods. We have demonstrated that we can transform this economy when we all come together and put our hearts and minds to it. Mr. Speaker, just as we did in 2017 and 2020, government is resolved to continue to provide the necessary leadership to turn the economy around. Let me assure you, on behalf of the President, that we will do it again within the next 2.5 years. To do this, Mr. Speaker, we proceed with great caution, thoughtfulness, creativity, and grit. And as the old adage says, we shall hasten slowly. Mr. Speaker, we are currently developing an enhanced domestic program to complement the Ghana Cares Ofori-Atta program to return us to a path of macroeconomic stability, debt sustainability, robust growth, and a Ghana beyond aid. We expect this program to be the basis of our negotiations with the IMF. In the coming months, Mr. Speaker, we'll continue to optimize and support our flagship programs and make strategic investments in the real sector to increase production, enhance productivity, and create jobs. The Youth Start program will be a fundamental intervention to advancing an entrepreneurial nation to create jobs. Mr. Speaker, our iconic National Builders Corps program, which was initially run for 3 years and extended for an additional year, will be completed by 1st September 2022. The program, which engaged 100,000 young graduates, has prepared thousands of them for the world of work. So far, we have invested approximately 2.2 billion cedis. As they exit, the current cohort on the program are encouraged to take advantage of the Youth Start initiative and other assistance programs in our drive to build an entrepreneurial nation. Government's policy is to support dynamic young entrepreneurs, access training and funds to build their businesses and become a significant pool of job providers for. Mr. Speaker, we have recognize that our post-COVID economic recovery has been uneven and risks remain high. According to the IMF, the global outlook is grim and has darkened significantly, and global uncertainty is exceptionally high, and 2020 is even more uncertain. However, in the 2022 budget, we committed ourselves to chart a course towards growth and fiscal sustainability, and this mid-year policy review reassets the commitment. Mr. Speaker, we've seen some major shifts in our budget assumptions compared to November 2021 when we presented the budget. These changes have led to reduced revenues, increased interest payments, and changes in interest rates and exchange rates. However, we are committed to staying within the appropriation for 2022. In spite of the underperforming revenues and strong external headwinds, we are not seeking additional funds in this mid-year review. We are determined to efficiently use the windfall from the upstream petroleum sector to make up for our revenue and aggressively improve our revenue, even as we rationalize expenditures. Mr. Speaker, the Bank of Ghana increased the monetary policy rate cumulatively by 450 basis points between March and May 2022, and reserve requirements to 12% to help address rising inflation and currency depreciation. This led to a significant increase in interest rates, costs, and a drop in liquidity, leading to rollover pressures. Mr. Speaker, with this backdrop, I now proceed to give details of development for the first half of the year 2022, and also provide updates on the outlook. Mr. Speaker, the global economy is engulfed in crisis margins since World War II, resulting in a conflagration everywhere. Global inflation is at record high. Monetary policy adjustments in advanced economies are also tightening financing conditions. The Financial Times estimates that investors have pulled about $50 billion from emerging market bond funds in 2022 alone, the most severe net outflow recorded in 17 years. The outlook of the global economy has significantly dimmed, Mr. Speaker. According to the April 2022 IMF's World Economic Outlook, global growth is projected to end the year at 3.6%, down from 6.1% growth in 2021. Across advanced economies, growth is projected at 3.3% in 2022, down from 5.2% recorded in the previous year. The sharp slowdown reflects surging commodity prices, soaring inflation, trade disruptions, tightening financing conditions, and elevated uncertainty due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In addition to these factors, growth in sub-Saharan Africa is projected to slow from 4% in 2021 to 3.8% in 2022 on account of heightened security risk in the Sahel region. The World Bank also projects that global growth from now to 2024 will slow down by 2.7%. According to the UN this year, about 250 million people will fall into extreme poverty. It further suggests that a record 345 million acutely hungry people are on the brink of starvation, representing a 24% increase from 276 million at the beginning of 2022. Mr. Speaker, price pressures have continued to build in several advanced and emerging economies, primarily due to escalating energy and other commodity prices and widespread supply chain disruptions. Inflation in advanced economies is expected to increase from 3.1% in 2021 to 5.7% in 2022, moderate to 2.5% in 2023. Inflation in markets and developing economies is expected to increase from 5.9% in 2021 to 8.7% in 2022, before moderating to 2.5% in 2023. Mr. Speaker, our economy has been impacted by these global developments. The revenue measures outlined in the 2022 budget have underperformed due to delays in passing and implementing these measures. Inflation has surged to 29.8% as at the end of June 2022, as compared to 9% in June 2021. The cedi has been pressured against the US dollar by 16.86% between January and June 2022, compared to 4.1% at the end of 2021. These have contributed to rising costs of living and labor agitations. Interest payments have been reviewed upwards from 37.5 billion, 7.5% of GDP, to 41.3 billion, 7% of revised GDP, mainly on account of inflationary pressures and exchange rate depreciation, resulting in higher costs of finance. Mr. Speaker, in face of these adverse domestic and external headwinds, growth momentum has, however, been relatively resilient. The Ghana Statistical Service reports that the economy continued to grow, moderately growing at 3.3% in the first quarter of 2022. In addition, the Bank of Ghana's updated Composite Index of Economic Activity recorded an annual growth of 15.8% in March 2022, compared to 26.3% in the corresponding period in 2021, due largely to increased industrial production, increased credit to private sector, exports, and higher tourist arrivals. In the light of the significant changes in the global environment and our own unique challenges, we have revised our economic growth estimate for 2022 to 3.7%, down from 5.8% as stated in the 2022 budget. Mr. Speaker, at the time of presenting the 2022 budget in November last year, macroeconomic developments for the first 9 months of the 2021 fiscal year. We now have received updated information through the end December 2021, which I now present as follows. Overall real GDP for 2021 grew strongly by 5.4% compared to 0.5% recorded in 2020 and the revised 2021 annual target of 5.1%. Non-oil GDP growth also increased to 6.9% compared to a growth of 1% recorded in 2020 and a revised 2021 target of 7%. Overall budget deficit of 28.095 million, 5.6% of GDP, against a deficit target of 19.73 billion Ghana cedis, 3.9% of GDP. Primary balance for the period was a deficit of 1.8 billion, 1.5% of GDP, target 72 million or 0.1% of GDP. Public debt to GDP ratio stood at 76.6% at the end of 2021. Mr. Speaker, 2022 National Accounts June 2022 showed that the overall real GDP growth for the first quarter of 2022 was 3%. Compared to 3.6% recorded in the same period in 2021, non-oil GDP for the first 2022 grew grew by 3.7% compared to the quarter 1 2020 growth of 5.3%. Revision to 2022 framework. Mr. Speaker, as I've already indicated, the macroeconomic environment has significantly changed, prompting the revision of the macroeconomic framework. Furthermore, the development for the first 6 months of the rest of the year, we have accordingly revised the macro fiscal targets for 2022 as follows. Overall GDP 7%, 8%. Oil GDP growth of 4.3% down from 5.9%. End period inflation of 28.5% from 8%. 6.6% of GDP down from 4%. Primary surplus 0.4% of GDP, up from a surplus of 0.1% of GDP, and the gross international reserves of not less than 3 months import cover. Mr. Speaker, the 2022 fiscal framework has also been revised to the fiscal performance, including shortfalls in the expected from the new 2022 revenue measures. And other expenditure measures in the year. The other expenditure measures are foreign travel, pre-approved critical and statutory travels, 50% cut in fuel coupon allocations for all political appointees and heads of government institutions, including SOEs. The moratorium on foreign travels, except approved, pre-approved critical on statutory travels, and 50% cut in fuel allocations for all political, including SOEs, etc. Government support for 15% of cost of living allowance to public servants. Upward revision of the average weighted domestic interest rates. Upward revision in exchange rate on account of high depreciation. And revision of the benchmark crude oil price from $61.2 per barrel to $94.8 per barrel, and benchmark crude volume from 59.5 million barrels to 58.0 million barrels. Mr. Speaker, accordingly, total revenue and grants have now been revised to $96.8 billion, 16.4% of GDP in 2022, down from the 2022 budget target of $100.5 billion, 20% of GDP, representing 3.7% reduction. Total expenditure, including payments for the clearance of arrears, has been revised downwards to $135.7 billion, 22.9% from the original budget projection of $137.5 billion, 27.4% of GDP. Interest payments have been revised upwards from $37.4 billion, 7.5% of GDP, to $41.362 billion, 7% of revised GDP, mainly on account of inflationary pressures and depreciating, resulting in higher costs of finance. Mr. Speaker, the revisions in government's fiscal operations results in a fiscal deficit on cash basis of $38.9 million, 6.6% of revised GDP. Up from 2022 budget deficit target of $37.012 billion, 0.0% of GDP. Corresponding primary balance is of $2.46 billion, 0.4% of revised GDP, up from the 2022 budget estimate of surplus of $4.1 billion. Although the deficit, Mr. Speaker, is expected to be financed from both foreign and domestic sources, domestic financing will be the key driver while government works to regain external market access. Mr. Speaker, the following revenue measures in the remaining half of the year: EVAT. The digitalization of our revenue mobilization processes remain a key focus. Therefore, the GRA is finalizing all relevant processes to facilitate the effective collection of VAT revenue. This includes a proposed amendment of the Value Added Tax Act 870 to enable its electronic collection effective 1st October 2022. operates. It's fundamentally important that together with the local government, we continue to assist and support that not only to expand their revenue base, but to efficiency and effectiveness. Therefore, the collective efforts of the local government, the assembly, and the GRA in launching an end-to-end digitized process will be realized in all this. Extension of waiver of interest and penalty to December 2022. Introduction of VAT on importers not registered for VAT with implementation start date of 1st October 2022. Mr. Speaker, this government has kept faith with public sector workers. Not a single public sector employee was laid off as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Employees receive their full salaries, with health workers receiving additional incentives. Since 2017, this government has employed an additional, Mr. Speaker, since 2017, this government has employed an additional 295,000 Ghanaians in the public sector, with 2020 being the highest, registering 84 new employees, 1,000 new employees. In spite of the prevailing global economic upheavals, the resultant final fiscal challenges, the government continues to pay salaries of all public sector employees on government payroll and has committed to pay the cost of living allowance of 15%. This ensures that public servants are motivated and public service nationwide continues. Furthermore, it shows government's commitment to the public sector. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, government is significantly investing in ongoing initiatives and programs to improve the lives of Ghanaians, facilitate economic and job opportunities, promote shared growth, and protect the quality of life of Ghanaians. Indeed, government has prioritized national security, food security, energy and road sector development, railway infrastructure, education, and skills development, among other flagship programs. Mr. Speaker, on national security, the safety of Ghanaians in the face of complex security threats is a major concern to government, and we are using a significant amount of resources to ensure that we keep our country and our people safe. Considering what is happening in the West Africa region, it is important that we prioritize national security, and we have. Whilst it will not be prudent to disclose the full cost of ensuring the security of the state, let me emphasize that it is significant. As a result, the Ghana Armed Forces implemented an advanced surveillance program, country's airspace, and international borders through collaboration with other domestic security agencies. We are also aggressively pursuing the Forward Operating Bases program to improve response time and prevent cross-border crimes as well as terrorist infiltration. To further improve internal security, the Ghana Police Service has recruited and trained 5,000 additional force officers to put more police in our streets and communities. The service has also launched the See Something, Say Something campaign, intensified anti-armed operations and intelligence-led sweeps throughout the country. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war have combined to disrupt supply chains and increase transportation costs, which are threatening food security globally. But what I care to see is that their government is doing about it to ease the impact here. To enable households and farmers cope, government has taken the following immediate measures. Place a temporary ban, promote the use of cultivation of crops such as roots which require less fertilizer, monitor food and input prices to pick up early warning signals of potential food crisis in order to take and finalize modalities other haulage of produce from farm and food markets, especially the urban areas. Mr. Speaker, on energy sector development, the raft of sanctions imposed on Russia are tightening supply conditions for energy products. The is closely monitoring the stock of products at all depots. The time of the Bank of Ghana through the special forest auction mechanism is also expected to sustain supply of products in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, we have seen in this country the damage that disruptions large and small, from factories to hairdressers, salons. As part of measures to improve transmission reliability of power supply and expand energy to all Ghanaians, we have between January to date completed the Kasua Supply Plant Point project, which comprises the reconstruction of a section of Gridco's 161 kV Winneba Malam transmission lines tie-in works. The lights are on. Advanced voltage motor lot of the 161 kV voltage motor Malam transmission line upgrade project to 85% from 83%. 88 communities to the national grid as at end June 2022. Various stages of completion and commissioned the solar irrigation project at Kotech in 2022 to promote renewable. Mr. Speaker, for balanced, sustainable energy partnerships, affordable power for industrial, commercial, and residential use, we have kept our promise and successfully negotiated power purchase agreements with 6 independent power producers, namely Car Powers and Power, Power, Twin City Energy, formerly Amandi, AXA Energy, and Senate. These renegotiated agreements are expected to have savings estimated at 13 billion over the life of the PPAs through a combination of reduced capacity and energy charges. In other words, we will be saving the Ghanaian taxpayer 13.2 billion from power contracts by the previous administration. Mr. Speaker, in spite of the revenue mobilization challenges, the President is determined to fix the roads. This program is continues to be on course. It's part of the agreement with the Sino Hydro Corporation Limited, comprising engineering, procurement, and construction contracts for 442 kilometers of roads, and 2 interchanges have gained significant progress, including Tamale Interchange project completed and commissioned, DC Runabout Interchange project at 35% completion, selected feeder roads in Shanti and West regions completed, of a lot more to follow, and Sunyani Inner City roadworks at 63% completion. Other key road and bridge projects are also progressing, including the road projects Lots 1 and 2, which includes a 4% and 50% complete respectively as of June 2022. The phase 2 of the Obechabi-Lamte Circle interchange motorway from the Flower Port Sprinters Road, 57% and 30% complete respectively as of June 2022. The Kumasi Road and Drainage Extension Project, extension of the existing Abuabo drain, and construction of the Tripatra bus terminal at 92% at the end of 2022. A complete Pandai Road at 70% completion, partial reconstruction of Bojaso Adesu Road, Lot 1 at 98% completion, work on the construction of 50 prefabricated bridges to improve connectivity within areas cut off by waterways in all 16 regions have been achieved with progress of about 80%. Mr. Speaker, under the Ministry of Roads and Highways Public-Private Partnership Program for Road Infrastructure, the design, build, finance, operate, and maintain Accra Tema Motorway and Extension PPP project 27.7 kilometers is at the procurement stage, Site work are expected to commence in September 2020. The government of Ghana has made a strategic decision in line with the Public-Private Partnership Act 2020 Accra Extensions project through GIF, with a mandate to deliver a GIF-led PPP financing solution where maximum funds are raised in the market, but majority ownership of the project remains of GIF on behalf of the Ghanaian government. The draft concession agreement between GIF, the Ministry of Roads and Highways, is currently under review by GIF, Ministry of Roads and Highways, the Office of the Attorney General, and the Ministry of Finance. When complete, the agreement is expected to be approved by the PPP Committee, Cabinet, and Parliament. The completed road will be tolled. Mr. Speaker, all new roads of this nature will be tolled. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the completed new road will be told to recover the whole life cost of the completed infrastructure, as well as pay lenders and provide a return to equity investors. The government of Ghana shall provide funding through a gift to take equity to for the project. Mr. Speaker, PPP projects must be self-financing and they will be told. Significant investments continue to be made by more than we believe, because we know that creating an alternative means of transport, especially for goods, will ease the pressures on our roads and fuel global price hikes on farm products. The new Tema-Mpakadan rail line by the end of this year. The project is currently about 92% complete. The operationalization of the project is expected to enhance efficiency at the Tema port and provide the shortest possible transportation route between the south parts of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, government continues to implement key initiatives to enhance productivity, scale up entrepreneurship prospects, and build resilient systems. These initiatives underpin economic activities in a modern economy and significant and safeguard our transformation agenda. Mr. Speaker, we have placed human capital development at the core of our national transformation efforts since 2017. We invested $5.3 billion to enable 1.3 million Ghanaians children SHS program at the end of 2021 to improve access to education. Out of the 571,892 registered JHS students, 555,353, representing 97.1%, were placed into senior high schools this year. This is significant. We are aware of reported challenges in accessing and transporting food for students in SHS, and we are fixing it. In response, we have engaged stakeholders in the program that that ensures that schools will not be disrupted and our students are well fed. Government has also recently completed 17 additional projects, including classroom blocks, dormitories, staff bungalows, and libraries as part of infrastructure expansion in senior high schools to deal with the record increases in student numbers. Mr. Speaker, we shall not compromise on President Akufo-Addo's commitment to giving all our children the opportunity to be educated from kindergarten to university. The ability to pay being a hindrance. Free secondary and TVET education are not under review. We'll continue to fund them, we'll continue to improve them, we'll continue to create efficiencies. Mr. Speaker, and eliminate waste. Mr. Speaker, thanks to the taxpayers, since January, 3.6 million pupils in 10,832 public basic schools have been fed with one hot meal every school-going day in the first half of the year under the Ghana School Feeding Program. The program provides employment for caterers, about 32,496. School feeding program remains an important initiative that keeps our children in school, provide jobs and income for several people, mainly women, and avoids stunting. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to report that work has commenced in our various stages of construction in 87 out of the 111 sites earmarked to Agenda 111 project. For the majority of contractors at various sites, we are well on course to bridge the health inequality gap and strengthen the health system nationwide. Furthermore, health infrastructure projects are expected to be completed by end of 2022. These are construction of one district hospital and 5 police in Western region, expansion and equipping of 4 selected facility projects, and equipping of Upper Hospital Phase 2, and completion of 37 military hospitals, Mr. Speaker, in Kumasi. Mr. Speaker, it is important to recall that the timely intervention of the government to the COVID-19 pandemic preserved lives and livelihoods of all Ghanaians. The economic measures staved off a recession and have sustained momentum of economic recovery from 0.5% in 2020 to 5.4% in 2021. Mr. Speaker, last month, I provided a comprehensive update on COVID-19 expenditures to this House. I welcome your directive to the Committee of Finance and Health to further understand the expenditures occurred by MDAs under COVID. To complement this accountability process, I've also requested that the Auditor General audit the COVID-19 expenditure in line with its statutory obligations. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 related expenditure had to be met. They saved lives and provided inclusive growth. The impact of these interventions will certainly transcend the momentary challenges we face today. Mr. Speaker, in the youth and sport infrastructure objective of government to empower youth, we are implementing Phase 2 forward employment productivity to train about 1,500 youth in 6 modules: transport, app development, satellite installation, hairdressing, cosmetology, and dressmaking. Consistent with government priority policy on building an entrepreneurial nation, this training under the Youth Start program. Mr. Speaker, government wishes to congratulate the Ghana men's 4x100 meters relay quartet for their outstanding performance in taking the 5th position in the final at the World Athletics Championship in Oregon last Saturday. They did so by setting a new national record of 38.07 seconds to Sean Safundi, Benjamin Azamati, Joseph Odrumeno, and Joseph Paul Amoa, a grateful country. Mr. Speaker, Ghana was represented in various competitions at which the following medals were won. The 5th Para Taekwondo Championship in Niger, 2 gold medals and 1 bronze. African Hockey Cup, Ghana, 1 silver medal. The National Beach Volleyball, Cotonou, Benin, 2 bronze medals. Mr. Speaker, Team Ghana is scheduled to participate in the upcoming 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, UK between July 28th and August 8th. The Black Princesses will also participate in the FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Costa Rica in August 2022. And finally, for this year, the senior national team, the Black Stars, will represent our nation at the FIFA World Cup in Qatar, November 2022. Would ensure that adequate preparation is made to facilitate outstanding performance by these teams. We encourage all Ghanaians to continue to bear them in prayer and support. Mr. Speaker, government continues to invest strategically in key sectors of the economy for catalysis under the Ghana Cares program. Significant progress made under the program in the first half of 2022 include completion of the first phase of registering farmers and value chain actors in the northern sector, currently totaling 1.3 million farmers and 32,970 value chain actors. This has started impacting how agricultural interventions will be delivered to our farmers. Offering a 50% interest rate subsidy on loans worth 5.95 million to private sector agribusinesses in the rice, soya, poultry, and tomato value chain to ease the costs of borrowing. Providing 27.3 million Ghana cedis as guarantee cover for loans amounting to 94.7 million under GESEL, safeguarding 1,309 jobs. Training about 25 under the Youth in Innovation Agriculture Program Initiative to seamlessly integrate into agriculture. Commence upgrading of 3 culturally significant sites, namely 55% complete, Yas Antoine Mausoleum, Ejisu Bisiase 58% completed, and the Pigwari Slave Camp, Paga 73% completed. The National Training and Retraining Program under the National Unemployment Insurance Scheme in July 2022 to equip 15,000 with employable skills for industrialization. Secured land and commenced processes to establish the Economic Enclave Program. This will create a viable ecosystem for the youth in commercial agriculture with an initial focus on rice and poultry value chains. The Youth Start Initiative. Mr. Speaker, since March 2022, we have successfully piloted the Youth Start program. Over 70 participants across the country went through a 2-week mandatory training to equip them with the requisite skills in entrepreneurship, financial management, good corporate governance, marketing, and customer service, among others. Mr. Speaker, a total of 1.98 million was disbursed under the pilot to 46 individuals and 8 associations, with membership of between 6 and 45 members, based on specific needs to enable them scale up their businesses and contribute to the job creation agenda of government. Development Bank of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, on the 14th of June 2022, government and entrepreneurs realized a long-cherished dream when we launched and operationalized the Development Bank of Ghana. This is a significant innovation and reinforcement of our financial architecture that will provide medium and long-term financing for commercial, for businesses and projects, and focus, Mr. Speaker, on agribusiness, industrialization, and ICT. Together, we'll work harder to make the DBG a AAA able to access and disperse resources to finance Ghana's transformation with a 750 million capitalization. Mr. Speaker, despite global supply chain disruptions, Ghana's Automotive Development Program under the Strategic Anchor Industries Initiative continues to attract investment. In April 2022, Nissan commissioned the largest automotive assembly plant in Ghana in Tema with a capacity to assemble over 31,000 vehicles per annum. The expected commissioning of 4 additional plants this year, bringing the total to 9 global brands, will make this nation a true hub for automobiles in the sub-region. Mr. Speaker, digitalization is key to automation, data integration, and utilization in the modern economy. To this end, government continued the implementation of our National Education Program, which is the foundation of our transformative digitalization agenda. As of June 2022, 6,895,108 Ghanaians were enrolled, out of which 15.7 million Ghana issued. Mr. Speaker, the President wishes to see Ghana producing what we use for ourselves and what our neighbors also need is unfolding right before our very eyes. Out of 296 1D1F projects undertaken since 2017, 125 are currently operational across the country. This is by far the biggest industrialization program our country has seen since colonial days. Seen against 278 projects and 106 operational IDFs reported in November 2021, our industrialization agenda is progressing steadily, and we will urge more investors to see the current global supply chain challenges as rather an opportunity to invest in Ghana now, the commercial center of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Government, for our part, will continue to support 1DIFMs with technical assistance, incentives, and access to credit, including interest payment subsidies, de-risk lending to create jobs and promote export orientation for transformation. Mr. Speaker, ours is a country of strong, courageous, resilient, optimistic, and joyful people. Indeed, it is amazing how we can find humor in the midst of the most difficult situations that keeps our spirits alive. As a nation, we have gone through many difficulties, including the recent COVID-19 pandemic that devastated many nations, yet we survived. That is a testament to our resilience. The times are difficult and things are not what we desired, but we believe in the overcoming spirit of the Ghanaian people that does not cower in the face of challenges. It is this spirit that inspires us as a government to provide the leadership that is required. Mr. Speaker, our decision to the IMF again, despite what we had determined earlier, for balance of payment support in the long term, we really need is a major structural shift in our economy. Speaker, this will also open up our re-entry into the international capital markets and friendly sovereigns who would support. The economy is still largely primary, despite the numerous attempts to structurally transform it through various industrialization programs. Primary commodity extractive industry and our price takers on the market. Our capacity and productivity remains low in both public and private sectors. These are huge inefficiencies as well as limited scale to foster our development and improve the standards of living. In this regard, any adverse global development impacts us negatively no matter how efficient we manage the economy. This is what we intend to reverse. Mr. Speaker, that is why the concentration of Ghana beyond aid is critical. It is to reduce our vulnerability to global shocks. For the last few years, the implementation of our flagships, including the 1D1F, the Planting for Food and Jobs, the Road and Railway Development Program, and the Recovery Program, the Ghana Cares of Batampa will add value to our products. To increase productivity in both the public and private sector of the economy, to drive our transformation agenda, government will implement programs such as the Youth Start, as well as the training and retraining program to enhance the skills of Ghanaians, especially the youth. Furthermore, we'll promote a robust digital technology driven in architecture for unique identification to aid revenue mobilization, management, and enhance security. We shall improve connective transport and communication infrastructure that promotes national and regional trade and strengthen the financial ecosystem, reinforce the Government Bank of Ghana that supports Ghanaian enterprises and enhances the inclusive growth. We shall further, Mr. Speaker, turn Ghana into a continental financial services hub and a continental financial services technology playground. Mr. Speaker, our forward march is underpinned by a significant investment in structural transformation. Let me emphasize that over the last 5 years, we have been in the prudent usage of our tax revenues. As a government, we have made sure that these resources are channeled into interventions that impact the life and livelihood of our fellow Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, we have invested in children through 1.3 billion has been spent to enable 1.3 million secondary education. We have invested in the poor and vulnerable through the LEAP program. We have invested in hot nutritious meal per day to 302 million people in our basic schools and provided a steady stream of income for 32,496 acres. We have invested in construction, rehabilitation, and upgrading of major road networks. We've invested in lives and livelihoods during the COVID through the CAP, bus, and other interventions over 600 million cedis. We've invested in making sure that all public workers were paid every month during the COVID-19 pandemic, including the teachers who were for all the 9 months when the academic calendar was disrupted. We invested in ensuring that we provide adequate human resources for our public sector by employing 295,000 more people between 2017 and 2019. Of this number, 86,000 in the education sector, 146,000 in the health sector, and 37,000 in the security services. We have also, Mr. Speaker, invested in strategically placed industries in over 100 districts, the 1D1 program, and we're investing in the expansion of health infrastructure to every district under the Agenda 111 initiative. Mr. Speaker, for 3 years, for our people and livelihoods in spite of our fiscal condition. Mr. Speaker, government has always come through during the difficult times, and we believe that together we will that lie ahead of us. Mr. Speaker, we are investing to grow the economy and create jobs for our young people, to be able to leverage opportunities created by AFCFTA. It is the most sustainable means of improving living standards in the long term. At this critical time, we are directing resources to regain economic stability. This is what Ghanaian households and businesses expect and deserve. With discipline, dedication, and hard work, we will overcome the current challenges that confront our nation. We are convinced we can do this again. We work closely with Ghanaians to turn around the economic situation in 2017, and we can do it again. Mr. Speaker, in the immediate term, we will focus on efficiency in our fiscal operations and transformation efforts. To this end, we are aggressively improving revenue mobilization by adopting more innovative and comprehensive approaches, including technology, rationalizing expenditures, adopting policies to address inflation, promoting production and improving productivity, including implementing the Ghana Care Use and by the recently approved Africa Exim facility. Mr. Speaker, predictions on a changed global outlook since the war has manifested. According to the IMF, the outlook has darkened significantly and uncertainty is exceptionally high. The downside risks about which the IMF had previously warned have now materialized. Mr. Speaker, there is no crystal ball in predicting when these uncertainties will end. The pandemic, which has been at the root of the current worldwide torment, is far from over. Crucially, the global weekly average of COVID-19 infections has surged from 470 to 895,000 to 1.08 million between 1st May 2022 and 22nd June 2022. Even though the active infection rate in Ghana stands currently below 500, despite harsh economic sanctions and taxing diplomacy, we are witnessing a war of attrition in Ukraine with no end in sight. Monetary policy adjustments to tame surging inflation may persist over the medium term. We are also developing a new strategy to enable us to confront these uncertainties as part of the enhanced domestic program. This program will stimulate economic growth, promote fiscal consolidation, and enable us to re-emerge on the path of sustained transformation and debt sustainability. We have invited a fund to support key components of this program. Mr. Speaker, this program reinforces our focus on fiscal consolidation and debt sustainability. To demonstrate our commitment, we are not seeking additional resources despite significant challenges. We will stay within the appropriation for 2022. Government will balance underperforming revenues, and the adverse impact of the strong external headwinds will affect our windfall from upstream petroleum sector. Mr. Speaker, the Finance will work with the Bank of Ghana in the coming months to provide emergency financing in the case of shortfall within the law, given the current unpredictable and challenging environment. The Bank of Ghana is also taking measures to help reduce inflation and has introduced critical measures to help stabilize the cedi, which is to exercise Ghana's first right of refusal to gold produced here, and for the first time, build a strong gold reserves culture as we move forward. Mr. Speaker, the collective achievement of this initiative will offer a more permanent respite and improve our capacity to withstand similar challenges in the future. I am bright, but we'll have to contend with recurrent external challenges and adapt quickly to a new environment. There will always be unexpected challenges ahead. These have to be carefully considered and measures put in place to resolve them. Mr. Speaker, we are confident because we have laid the key infrastructure upon which we can anchor this process of national growth. Mr. Speaker, we are even more confident of an imminent breakthrough because we have, Mr. Speaker, a track record, a plan, the discipline, the dedication, the competence, as well as the compassion for people in our country. But most of all, Mr. Speaker, we have God who gives abiding grace for this new journey. He guided the Ofori-Atta government to successfully exit an IMF program in 2019. He will again use this government to successfully go through this program to redeem us from this. We will chart a sustainable course that will restore and improve macroeconomic stability, energize and expand economic activity, create jobs, and strengthen Ghana's structural resilience to future external shocks. Mr. Speaker, I serve a president who has shown by his deeds that he is deeply committed to the welfare of the masses of our people. Ours is also a government that is not afraid to make hard choices for the good of our country. I want to appeal to Ghanaians to keep faith with the president and his team. We know things are tough now, but we have a plan and the will to drive it. We want this House to do exactly what we did in the earlier crisis of 2020. Support us in our bid to reduce the impact of this global crisis on the nation and to tackle the vulnerabilities in our economy to make us prone to such shocks. The President wants the Sovereign House to be a strategic partner in government's effort to stabilize the economy and spur growth to create jobs. Ours, Mr. Speaker, is a proud history of finding solutions to our country's issues, the MPP government of the Fourth Republic. We have done it before, we will do it again, and with the help of this House, the support of the good people of Ghana, we will come out stronger. As we claim the Lord's promise in Joel 2 to send his people corn, wine, and oil to satisfy us and eliminate this reproach. In this journey, we must eschew pessimism. That takes invaluable energy away from our forward march to transformation. As one people, we must speak the same language of patriotism to guarantee our own collective success. For a united country will have no restraint but victory, Mr. Speaker, in Kunimi. Mr. Speaker, I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here to outline our programs. I'm grateful that we continue to engage and find sustainable solutions to our challenges. God indeed bless our homeland Ghana and make us good and strong. Mr. Speaker, I beg to submit.
Honorable members, this is a clear manifestation of how far we have gone with our democracy. not sure you really understood what I said.